Okay, how to properly oil your Glock or striker fire pistol. Once you got it completely disassembled, I'm not going to do any of the disassembly, reassembly, but once you got it completely disassembled, before you start putting the frame back together, you want to start with the rails. This is after you've cleaned it. You want to start with the rails and hopefully you got a little dropper like this. You want to start it right there, 2 good drops, and right there 2 good drops, and you just want to leave this setting up like that. So I'm going to set this aside. It's probably going to be out of the frame. There we go. All right, on your trigger bar, whenever you go to put your trigger back together, so trigger bar right here, you want a dab of oil in between the connector. The connector is this piece right here, and this is the trigger bar. You want it in between the connector and the trigger bar right here. So right in there. Make sure you can view it good on the video. Just gonna squeeze off 1 little drop because that's a high friction point. That's a high friction point. Your trigger moves exactly like this. Brake. Squeeze the trigger, slides down the trigger bar, brake, brake, brake. That is a high friction spot. So we're going to drop this back in the frame since we got the trigger properly oiled. Should snap right in place. Drop this back in, and we're going to drop the rails back in. I'm gonna go ahead and punch the pins just real quick. This is not part of the video. I'm not doing anything that I'm trying to show you here. You probably already know how to take down your gun if you're oiling it. This is a tip if you are disassembling and reassembling and you're on the trigger pin right here, the big thick trigger pin. If you take your slide release and kind of wiggle it, it'll drop right in instead of spending time banging on it. There we go. Want to make sure you got spring tension. That's beside the point. So with the rails, you want to go ahead and drop a dab right here. Just 1 tiny little dab of oil, and right here. And if you got a Gen 3 or Gen 4, you want to go ahead and put a dab right there. Frame is done. We're going to set that aside. Now, the barrel. There are some friction points here. First, I'm going to run some oil through the chamber here. You always want to go the way the bullet is going. So I like to run the rod through. And I'm just going to get this area some oil on her. You're gonna wipe most of this out anyways, so you're just gonna pull it on through. Should be nice and shiny in there. Now, you're gonna take a dry cloth or a dry. Same thing. I like to fold them a couple times just so it is able to get all into the barrel, because sometimes these cleaning swabs can be a little too thin. And go ahead and clean that little mess up there. You should have a shiny barrel with no excess oil. All right, oiling the barrel. You want to look where all these friction points are. Friction points from the slide. Friction points from the slide. From the barrel lockup right here. There's a tad bit of a friction point here, but you want to make sure and get it down in here. Oops, right in there. That's where the lockup happens with the locking block. This is how the gun works. Bang, slide goes back, slide goes back forward. There's a lot of friction going on right there. Let's see that again. The friction point right there. There's a lot of metal on metal happening. So I'm going to get one good drop of oil. You can see where it's been wearing at. One drop of oil right in here. And I'm just gonna kind of spread it around. You don't have to, but I do. So I'm going to put a drop here and a little bit bigger drop there. Drop here, drop there. And then I'm just going to work it around. And at this part is when you can go ahead and just kind of rub it and spread it everywhere. You don't want excess oil. You don't want like layers of oil. You just want just enough. You want to make sure and rub some onto the feed ramp. Just anywhere you see friction points. Coming back to that, or coming back to the slide here, you should have a little puddle of oil that made it all the way down. Looks like it did, yep. I got a little puddle of oil down here. I'm just gonna take a little cleaning rag and just wipe that out. And just kind of run it up. Make sure you get any excess. And if you want, you can drop one drop right there. Just kind of rub it in with your finger. Now we're ready for the recoil spring and the barrel. I like to put a little bit of oil on the spring, but I usually just use the oil that's from my gloves. And here we go. And after disassembly and reassembly, you always want to function check. Safe direction, reset. Also, it's good for your slide occasionally to just put a dab of oil on your fingers, rub it in, and just cover the slide and then wipe it off. That's good for the finish. Oil does protect metals. Basically so little amount that a little oil goes a long ways. I'm get some on my sights where it carries against my skin. Don't want no rusting happening. And your gun is oiled. So yeah.